Hello, and welcome back to Her Poison Pen. On this peaceful new moon, we're going to look at 5 different ways that you can conduct research before you write your dark and scary novel. Research? What do you mean, research? I thought we were writing fiction. Aren't we just making this stuff up? Well, yes, true. You are writing fiction and you are making this stuff up, but even fiction has to ring true. If you're writing about an existing place, you need to describe it accurately. If you're creating a new world, you have to establish rules for that world, and you need to follow those rules consistently. Because if you don't, you can bet that some astute reader is going to call you on it. They will notice your errors. They will see that, oh, that's not how it is in that town at all. And they will call you on it. Now, in the olden days, a reader might have written an author a letter complaining about this mistake, or maybe offering helpful suggestions on how the author could get it right next time. But in this modern day and age of the social networking, yeah, they're not so kind. Error and inaccuracy that a reader picks up on could result in very low stars, 1 star reviews, or even worse, some really nasty online comments. And you don't want to go through that if you can avoid it. So let's take a look at 5 easy ways that you can get your research correct. Okay, the first one, the most obvious, is just hitting up the internet, right? This is fast and efficient, and it's so easy to do. But using online research comes with a huge caveat. First of all, AI does not provide all the time, it does not provide accurate information. And Wikipedia frequently has errors in its reporting. So if you are going to use AI, you are going to use the internet, try to think of it as a first step. Go on and look, double check everything. This is really important. And use several different sites to check your materials. Number 2, and this is a great one, the library. The library, isn't that kind of old-fashioned? Let me tell you, some of the greatest detectives on this planet are librarians. Librarians absolutely rock. In some cases, you can call an information hotline, especially in big cities. In smaller towns, you can just go to the library. And here's the thing that I have discovered over many years of researching and many years of writing is that if you ask a librarian to help you with some research, they will dig in for the information. They will go on a dedicated hunt. And if they can't find the accurate information for you, dollars to donuts, they're going to dive right in and get one of their colleagues to help out. Now, they will also help you find books that are similar to yours so that you can find out, am I on the right track? Has this idea been done and overdone? Or maybe you can even get some new ideas reading books in a similar vein. So go to the library, make friends with your local librarian. In my humble opinion, every library, whether it's huge or tiny, is a magical place. All right, number 3, ask the experts. Go straight to the source. Talk to cops, medical professionals, butchers, ghost hunters, scientists. Look for real people with real life and extensive knowledge of your subject matter. I learned a lot about guns by going to a shooting range and interviewing the man who ran the facility. One time, a police officer and I met at a Starbucks in the early evening. The janitor kicked us out after closing. We spent that entire time discussing all kinds of crime. I still fondly remember those hours learning about blood splatter patterns and things like that. So, if you want to know about crime, go to a cop. Now, if you want to know what happens to the human body after death, and you don't really feel like interviewing a funeral director, which I think could be a very interesting interview, here are two books that are going to give you all sorts of information and probably even spark some new ideas for you. The first one is called The Curious Lives of Cadavers. And well, the title is stiff. The subtitle is The Curious Life of Cadavers. And it's by Mary Roach. Mary Roach is a science writer, and she has written this amazing book. It is, I mean, it's all about what happens to dead bodies, to cadavers. And a lot of it is science based. It's very interesting. And despite its kind of gruesome premise, it's really funny. I mean, it's a hysterically funny book, a really good read. Another one that I find extremely helpful is called Death to Dusk by, what's his first name? Uh, Kenneth, sorry about this, Kenneth Iservin. He's a medical doctor. And this book was gifted to me by the late G.M. Ford, who was a mystery writer. And I remember seeing this on GM Ford's bookshelf and just going, oh my God, can I borrow that book? And I loved it so much that he finally gave it to me. But this goes through history. It's a very dense book, but I think it covers everything you'd ever want to know about what happens to bodies when they're no longer alive. So, two books that you can get into. Number 4 is Examine History. Several years ago, I was hired to conduct a program. It was an oral history project on a small Pacific Northwest island where most of the original residents were very elderly. The local government was concerned that the history of the island would disappear when these residents died. So it was a great job. It was really fun. I got the pleasure of interviewing many, many senior people, and I got to listen to their stories and ask them questions. And I learned so much. And I also filled my story idea bucket to overflowing. So asking older people about their lives and maybe write about the subject matter that you're interested in is a great way to do research. A lot of folks in retirement communities have excellent stories to share, and most of them really would appreciate someone listening to their stories. Of course, if you do that, you have to get all the legal permission to enter the facility and to talk to some of these people. So make sure you cover that base before you go down that route. Look for letters and photographs and diaries relating to your work. Check out old newspapers. They are a wealth of information. And again, here we go back to the library. Also, museums are great. There's probably a museum on every topic you can possibly think of. So I know I believe the town is Querétaro here in Mexico. There is a museum that's just filled with people who were in crypts, and they dried out. And when they opened up the crypts, here were all these dried out people. And they made a complete museum of that. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. So I don't think there are any subjects that you can't think of that you can think of that there is not a museum based on that subject. So anyway, museums, that's another way. All right, let's move on to number 5. So number 5 is my personal favorite way to research for a story: travel. Get hands-on personal knowledge of the place you're going to describe in your novel. In my book, The Last Outrageous Woman, 5 elderly women escaped from their retirement home and embarked on a worldwide adventure, and they visited 5 different countries along the way. I've had many readers over the years tell me that they felt they were really actually in those countries, that they had journeyed with my grannies, as I call them, that they knew what they were looking at. They were alive in that country. It was easy to write because I had visited all of those countries. And so all I was doing really was describing what I saw. Likewise, for such lovely skin, I traveled to Thailand. And for the dark psychological suspense novel, Then We'll Be Safe, I drove the route of the characters where they traveled, and I even tromped through the dark, horrible, bug infested forests where they hid. Now, of course, if you're writing about time travel or space travel or under the sea travel, you probably are going to need to go to a museum or once again head back to the library for that kind of research. But in my opinion, travel is the absolute best and most entertaining way of collecting research for a new novel. So there you have it. 5 easy ways of conducting research for your dark and scary stories. Enjoy the process. Play with it. After all, it's all about putting words on paper. Stay witchy.